Welcome into the Contrarian Leader. I'm Brian Plowman, and I'm glad you're here. In a world full of leadership noise and shiny new fads, this is the place where we cut through it all and reach for the evidence that actually moves the needle for you and for your organization. I'm your friendly horsefly, here to keep us sharp and challenge the assumptions that no longer serve us. Today, I want to talk about something that quietly shapes almost every workday of your life. The unspoken deal between you and the people who sign your paycheck. So let's dig in. This unspoken deal between the employee and the employer came under the umbrella of the social contract. In the employment context, some researchers call it the psychological contract. Whatever the name, it's the invisible agreement that once said, "You give me loyalty and hard work, and I will give you security, a rising paycheck, decent benefits, and a real shot at building a life." Well, for a lot of us, that deal feels broken. And if you felt that, you're not imagining it, you're not failing, you're responding to a real shift that scholars have been tracking for decades. So let's go back and picture the 1950s and 1960s for a moment. Big companies like GE, Kodak, GM, they built an entire culture around keeping people employed. And they did that through pensions that actually paid out, health insurance that didn't bankrupt you, the quiet understanding that if you showed up, did solid work, you were not going to get tossed aside the first time that profits dipped. In exchange, people stayed. They cared. They built careers inside of one company. Well, that was the relational contract between an employee and an employer, loyalty for security. But starting in the late 1970s and then accelerating through the 80s and 90s, the ground shifted. Globalization, technology, a new gospel of shareholder value, unions losing ground. Companies started treating labor like a flexible cost rather than a long-term partnership. Pensions became 401ks, which added risk to the employee and reduced cost to the employer. Healthcare costs went up, and the overall cost was shared more heavily with employees. Job security became employability. Basically, we'll help you stay marketable until we don't need you. Researchers call this the move from relational to transactional contracts. Now, it's not evil in some cartoon way. It's a response to real pressures faced by employers through the 80s and 90s and beyond. But the emotional impact on employees has been huge. From the employee side, your side, the data is pretty clear. When the old promises of security and steady advancement fade, loyalty drops. People become more willing to leave for better pay or better conditions. That's not disloyalty, that's rational self-protection. You're more sensitive than ever to what you actually receive, not what was promised in the interview. Real pay growth, real benefits, real flexibility, real respect. Those are the things that still matter. And here's something hopeful the research keeps showing. Most of us still want stability. We still want to belong somewhere. When the company treats us transactionally, we feel the loss. That ache is valid. From the employer side, the story looks very different. Boards and executives are under pressure to keep costs competitive, respond to global markets, and deliver returns. Keeping every job in an expensive location, even when the numbers scream otherwise, well, let's face it, it's rare. Offshoring and restructuring happen because the financial incentives are strong, very strong. Local loyalty is nice. Survival and growth are non-negotiable in their world. Neither side is purely the villain here. Both sides are responding to incentives that changed. So where does that leave you, the person actually living this every day? First, Stop waiting for the old contract to come back. It's not returning in its previous form. That doesn't mean that you're powerless. It means that the rules of the game are different, and the people who thrive are the ones who understand what those new rules are. Here's what the research suggests actually works for individuals. You have to become a better advocate for the parts of the deal that still matter to you. Clear conversations about total compensation, not just salary, but benefits, flexibility, personal development, and yes, some measure of security. Document what was promised and what is delivered. Mutual understanding still predicts better outcomes. Build portable value. Skills, relationships, and a reputation that travels. The old model rewarded company-specific loyalty, but the current model rewards people who can create value in multiple places. When you can, choose your environments carefully. Smaller and locally owned companies still tend to show higher mutual loyalty. Some larger organizations are deliberately trying to rebuild relational elements, especially around purpose, growth, and genuine flexibility. Look for evidence, not just marketing language. And protect your own sense of worth. When a company treats people as completely interchangeable, and thus individually dispensable, it's easy to internalize that. Don't. Your contribution has value independent of any single employer's current strategy. I know this can feel heavy. The system changed underneath us without a clear announcement. Many people carried the old expectations longer than the companies did, and that mismatch creates real pain, financial, emotional, identity-level pain. But here's the part I want you to hear clearly. Understanding the shift is the first step towards navigating it with more agency and less self-blame. You're not less loyal because you leave a job that stopped keeping its side of the deal. You're adapting. You're protecting your future. The best version of the social contract today is not a return to the 1950s. It's something more adult and more honest. Clear expectations, mutual respect where possible, and a recognition that both sides have legitimate interests. Companies need flexibility and results. People need security, growth, and dignity. The organizations that figure out how to hold both will attract and keep the best people. The ones that don't will keep cycling through talent and wondering why loyalty has disappeared. You get to decide how you show up in that reality. You get to decide what you will and won't accept. You get to invest in yourself as the constant in a changing employment landscape. That's not cynical. That's clear-eyed and self-respecting. If this resonated, sit with it for a bit. Talk about it with someone you trust. Look at your own situation with fresh eyes, not as a victim of a broken system, but as someone who now sees the system more clearly and can move through it with greater intention. You've got this. One clear decision, one honest conversation, one skill built at a time. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me. In a world full of leadership noise, keep reaching for the evidence that moves the needle. Stay sharp, keep challenging those outdated assumptions, and go make something better. This is the Contrarian Leader. I'm pulling for you. See you next time.